They've convinced you that without them, you're nothing. That without their approval, your next move isn't valid. That without their guidance, you're bound to fail. That without their help, your dreams aren't possible. They never say it outright, not in words you can easily call out, but you can feel it in the way they talk to you, the way they pause before approving your ideas, the way they make you second-guess your own instincts. They package it as loyalty. They sell it as friendship. They frame it as support. But beneath the wrapping, it's control. It's leverage. It's a quiet way of keeping you dependent, so you never realize you have the strength to move without them. And the longer you play along, the more it starts to feel true. You begin to believe that your success is tied to their presence. That your value is measured by whether they choose to stand beside you. That the spotlight only works if they're the ones aiming it at you. But here's the truth they don't want you to see. You were moving before they came into the picture. You had ideas before they started guiding you. You had fire before they offered you a spark. They didn't give you the engine. They just parked themselves in the passenger seat and acted like you'd stall without them. The day you see that, the day you finally recognize the grip they've had on you, is the day everything shifts. Because once you realize you never truly needed them to begin with, you stop asking for a seat at their table, and you start building your own. It doesn't start with a chain. It starts with a favor. A little help when you're starting out. A little guidance when you're unsure. A little boost when you're feeling stuck. And at first, it feels good. It feels safe to have someone to lean on. It feels comforting to know there's someone in your corner. But little by little, the balance shifts. You stop making moves without checking in. You stop trusting your own judgment. You stop taking risks unless they approve. They start reminding you, subtly, of everything they've done for you. They start making you feel like without them, you wouldn't have gotten anywhere. They plant the idea that leaving their orbit would mean losing everything you've built. And it works until it doesn't. Until you start realizing that every yes you've given them was followed by a no to yourself. Until you realize that their help came with strings you never noticed until they started pulling. That's when you see it clearly. They didn't make you stronger. They made you dependent. They didn't sharpen you. They softened you just enough to need them. And if you want to take your life back, you have to cut every string. There's a point where the thought hits you, quiet, sharp, undeniable. I can do this without them. It's not born out of rage. It's not born out of revenge. It's born out of clarity. One day you catch yourself in the middle of asking for their opinion on something you already know the answer to, and you stop. You feel this small but solid voice inside you say, "Why am I doing this? Why am I waiting for permission to act on my own ideas?" You realize you've been standing this whole time, but because they were always next to you, you thought they were holding you up. You thought their presence was the reason you didn't fall. But you've been balancing on your own legs. You've been building on your own skill. You've been surviving on your own strength. You just didn't recognize it because they kept taking credit for your stability. And then the switch flips. You stop seeking their nod before you make a move. You stop rewriting your plans to make them more comfortable. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never truly invested in your growth. At first, the change is subtle. You answer slower. You move on your own schedule. You start making choices that feel right to you, even if they make no sense to anyone else. And here's what you notice. The sky doesn't fall. The ground doesn't crack. Your world doesn't collapse. In fact, it starts to feel lighter. That's when you understand something they hoped you'd never figure out. You don't need their guidance to walk your own path. You don't need their blessing to take your next step. You don't need their protection to survive the world, because you've been protecting yourself all along. This is the moment you stop playing the role they wrote for you and start writing your own script. When you start moving alone, everything changes. You stop over-explaining your decisions. You stop asking for approval before you act. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin. You move because it's time. You act because you said you would. You follow through because your word means more to you than anyone else's opinion. And slowly you feel it. That weight you didn't know you were carrying starts to fall away. The hesitation fades. The fear of what they'll say disappears. You start to trust yourself again. You start to feel comfortable making bold moves without checking if the room is ready for them. You start to feel like your own person again, not a version of yourself filtered through someone else's control. At first, they'll be confused. They'll wonder why you're not calling, why you're not asking, why you're not checking in before making a move. Then they'll be offended. They'll tell you you've changed. They'll accuse you of being ungrateful. They'll make it sound like walking away is betrayal. But the truth is simple. You're not leaving them. You're returning to yourself. And once you've felt that freedom, you'll never trade it back for comfort. Rule 1. Your voice comes first. If your instincts and their advice conflict, choose your instincts. Rule 2. Take the risk alone. If you can't risk it without them, you're not in control. Rule 3. No one gets a veto over your lives. Opinions are allowed. Decisions are yours. Rule 4. Build skills, not dependence. The more you can do yourself, the fewer people can control you. Rule 5. Keep your circle, but remove your crutch. Friends are fine. Reliance is not. They'll notice the distance. They'll notice the lack of calls. They'll notice that you're not running your life through them anymore. Some will try to pull you back in, reminding you of the good times, trying to make you feel like you owe them something. Others will turn cold, punishing you for daring to stand without them. But you don't flinch, because you've learned that the approval you were chasing was never worth the cost of losing yourself. The real shock comes when they realize you're not just surviving without them, you're doing better. You're sharper. You're freer. You're more dangerous because now your moves can't be predicted and your strings can't be pulled. And the best part? You're not doing it to prove them wrong. You're doing it because you finally remembered that you were always enough on your own. You've spent enough time believing you needed their blessing to move. Enough time thinking their support was your foundation. Enough time letting them hold the map to your own life. Now you've burned the map. You've drawn your own. And you've stopped asking if they approve of the route. You don't need them. You never did. You needed courage. You needed focus. You needed yourself, fully, unapologetically, without compromise. And now that you have that, there's nothing they can give you that you can't give yourself. So when they ask, "When did you stop needing us?" you tell them, "I didn't stop needing you. I started trusting me." And then you keep walking. Because the only permission you'll ever need again is your own.